And here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington on YouTube, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the thanks button. Wow, I actually remembered it. Okay. So, Steve, you are in and got it. Going in the mail tomorrow. Thanks. Those of you wondering as you watch on replay and as we load, I am doing a special sale on the Commander's book. If you want to get one, I get a lot of new people come to watch and they don't know I had this. So it's an older book we updated a couple years ago. $15. If you see in the description, it shows you how to get it on PayPal or email address. So if you like it, I don't have a whole lot of them left, but $15 total, shipping, handling, all that stuff is in there. So if you'd like to get one, get it now. Next week, I thought I'd do it this week, but next week, my other book is going to come out. Where is it? There it is. One of these. The Presidential Pours next week. I'm supposed to get them this week. I don't want to sell them until I have them in hand, so you're not sitting there waiting for a week or two. So we'll talk about it next Monday. And next Monday, I think, will be the last show before I take a break. I looked it up. I've missed one show since July. We did it every week since July, except for one when I had COVID. So I've tried to be there for you. Matter of fact, I was just doing some last minute research to talk about things today on there. Thanks, Mills, for coming. Tim, Steve, Abe. So I'll let everybody pile in. I hope everybody enjoyed the Super Bowl. I picked Kansas City, so I was fine with the ending. It was a good game. It took a little while for them to get going. I've seen that happen before. And then when they couldn't stop, defense couldn't stop anyway. And, you feel for San Francisco. They came one play away, basically, from winning that game. But you didn't. Kansas City did. Way it goes. On there. Some of you might have noticed Philly last week, it was announced, is going to be playing the game down in Brazil. Don't have the opponent yet. Could be Washington. Washington's opened against Philly several times. It would be a Philly home game, technically. But I hate to lose the closest home game we have on the schedule every year. But, yeah, hey, party down in Brazil, whatever. Might be something interesting. So that's coming out. Otherwise, the Super Bowl was pretty interesting. I thought the halftime show was fine. I know who Usher is. I don't listen to him all the time, but I know who he is. Fine. I thought he did a good job. And the commercials, my favorite one was probably the NFL International commercial. Because I ride and die with NFL players. Listen, I've made my living off of these guys. Why wouldn't I support them on there? San Francisco's only a PAT away. It just shows you special teams, man. Got to be important sometimes. LimeWire, thank you for coming. All right, we got enough guys, I guess, in here to get going. You guys are eager tonight. All right, so let's go down to coaches that they've hired. Assistant coaches. They're kind of all leaking out today in various reports. Special teams is Larry Isso, who actually played a couple years of high school ball here in Ashburn, Virginia, his first 2 years in high school. So he knows the area well. I guess it's a homecoming sort of for him. This guy was an undrafted free agent, and he played 15 years in the league, won 3 rings with New England. Offensive line, Bobby Johnson, who's coming over from the Giants, where he's been for 2 years, and then Buffalo 3 years before that. Quarterback Tavita Pritchard was here last year, but he's staying. He did 13 years at Stanford. I mean, wow. Let's see. Ryan Kerrigan is staying. Glad to see that. Ryan's got a young family, and I'm glad he doesn't have to. That's the problem with coaches. You got to move every few years, it seems. So happy that Ryan is also staying over. Defensive passing game coordinator. Man, they have so many titles anymore. Jason Simmons was in Las Vegas the last 2 years, 14 years coaching in the league. John Pagano, I remember his father, Chuck Pagano, who used to be a head coach, who's been a D coordinator around. He's been in the league 34 years, but the last year was in Denver in 2021. So he's been out of the league a couple of years. And then Ken Norton Jr. If you're my age, you remember Ken Norton Sr., who was a heavyweight champ, who actually beat Muhammad Ali one time. Back when the heavyweight division was, Foreman, Frazier, Ali, Norton. I mean, Norton would have been king a lot of years. He had to take his chances against these guys. God, they had so many great heavyweights I really enjoyed boxing back then. But he played through 13 years, had 3 rings, a junior, and he's been at UCLA last 2 years for linebackers. So that's not everybody, but they're drifting in on there. Okay, we'll go to questions. So Todd's all happy with the staff. Good. Most of the time, you never really talk to people like this much anymore. You don't get a chance to talk to assistant coaches like you used to. You can talk to the coordinators once a week during the season. You got to get special permission to talk to an assistant, positional coach quite often. You just don't. Old days you could talk to them all you wanted. Now they really restrict the access, and it's up to the head coach. Really, some head coaches are like, "Yeah, go talk to who you want," and some of them are like, "Oh no, they might tell you something." So, that's why I don't get to know them as much as I used to. How do I feel about the NFL covering up the Redskins logo during the Super Bowl sales? I think that's total BS. It is what it is. And I had to come up with the idea back when they switched first to Washington football team, now Washington Commanders. If you were a Redskin, I would say, right, you were a Redskin back then. It would be stupid if I said Washington Commanders cornerback, Darryl Green. He never played for the Commanders. I mean, and so history is what it is. And, to whitewash it is wrong. And the NFL just can't seem to stop doing this kind of stuff. I personally wouldn't mind if a team went back to being Redskins. Maybe I'm not woke enough. I don't know. And then, I've talked to people inside the team about all this, and they basically said, fans would be okay. We wouldn't lose any ticket sales because, hell, they're selling all the visiting fans anyway. But they're worried about the corporate sponsors. I would tell them, listen, you'll take a short-term hit, and then people will move on to the next thing. So why not? The NFL will be unhappy. See you in court. Get your lawyers. But I'm not the one paying that bill, so whatever. Steve remembers Ken Norton Jr. Yeah, he was a good player at the Niners and Cowboys. Tough like his old man. Chuck is you're right, Tim. Chuck is the older brother of John Pagano. I don't know why I said father. This is the live show. Sometimes I say dumb stuff. Mike, did I watch the special You Are Looking Live? No, I didn't get to see that. I had all my grandkids around. We do it every Super Bowl now, and I'm not covering it anymore. And I try to teach them a little something about football, and they're still young. They're kind of modestly interested in it, but I want them to know something. I told one of my grandsons, listen, quit watching YouTube. Come sit and watch the game for a while. It's a cultural event. You need to learn these things. And he wasn't happy about it, but he did it because I'm his grandfather, and I told him to suck it up and do it. I think my grandson's going to remember me when I'm dead saying, yeah, he used to tell me to suck it up all the time. So I don't mind if he remembers that about me. Maybe it means he does stuff that he doesn't want to do. I heard the Musburger thing was cool. Greg, seems like we're getting into leftovers from coach staff. Well, it is near the end of the process. A lot of Cowboys coaches, that's why they're the Cowmanders now, not the Commanders. They're the now Cowmanders. Somebody said that the other day. I thought it was pretty good. Esteban, thank you so much about everything. Job security in my business is dead. I got laid off 6 times in 8 years in recent years. That's why I started this channel. I've been laid off again. Pandemic's here. Everybody cut their freelance money. I was either going to do this channel and succeed, or I was going to be done and retire. And we had 5 million views last year. 3 years in, things are going great. So that's why I'm still here. Otherwise, it's just my path is gone the way I did it. Let's see. Tony. Okay, Tony's here. Thanks for coming. Thoughts on Chick and the Josh Harris interview? Well, Chick's an old pro. He's not much younger than me. And I thought he did a good job for Harris is going to say what he wants to say. And I only caught parts of it. I don't know how many he did, but I saw some of it. Chick knows how to ask a question. Ross. Sorry, Ross. All seem like good hires besides the O-line coach. Well, I don't have much to coach anyway, so I don't know. The O-line coach, I know people were yelling about it. Oh, no, whatever. I won't worry about that for a while. On there, as Stefan just showed you how you can hit the thanks button, which is the $ under some of the screens. I think some of the cell phones don't show it. If it doesn't, throw it in the church plate for me. But, I do appreciate any of the Basically, it's a tip, and I'm a whore. What can you tell you? So I do appreciate that. And last week, I'm going to do this, I think. If you want to buy the Commander's book, if you look in the description, it shows the PayPal, which is an address I have, an old AOL address. PayPal, Rick Snider 99 at AOL. $15, includes shipping and handling. I'll sign it for you. It's the only place you can get them signed. And next week, I'll do the Presidential Poor's book. And then next week, I'm going to goof off for, several weeks until we get to the Combine. It's goof off time in the NFL for a lot of us on there. Patrick thinks Bobby Johnson's a questionable hire. Well, the Giants had a lot of injuries on their line, too. So, if all you got is guys are hurt and guys off the street, what are you going to do? I don't know. I don't know him personally to know how he's doing, but we'll see. Got to have talent. They got to get more talent. That's more than anything. People are emailing me. If you don't have a talent, what do you got? Out of their line, let me look. Just sitting there looking at stuff real quick. All right. So if I had to rebuild the line, right tackle Andrew Wiley gone. Right guard Sam Cosmi is the one guy you keep. Center, they've had a bunch of guys who get hurt or wasn't that good. I would go for a new center in this draft if you can get one, or move Stromberg up maybe. Last year's pick. Left guard Chris Paul, I don't know. He got to play a little bit last year, but I wasn't overly impressed. But we'll see. Charles Leno, I'd probably move to right tackle and then find myself a good left tackle if they're in the position to draft one, which we'll see. I don't believe any of this stuff about Washington maybe wanting to move up to number 1 to get Caleb Williams. First off, I'm not into Caleb Williams' business. I don't think he's worth it. I don't think there's a generational quarterback among the 3 everyone talks about. But maybe you go for Penix later. What they have to do, and I wrote about this for 1067 The Fan that I write for regularly, Odyssey.com, AUDACY, is I said the first thing you got to do is figure out is how worth it. Is if you get some blocking, if you do some other things, can he succeed? If you think so, then sell that second overall pick. If you don't think so, then frankly trade him, get him out, so fans don't have to fight about it, and go for one of those quarterbacks. But I don't see a generational quarterback there. And watching game film of Caleb Williams, quite frankly, I don't see what all the fuss is about. He's a good player, but I'm not taking him number 1 or 2. So it's lying season when it comes to the draft. The NFL does not consider lying a sin. I can talk to God about that later. But I just wouldn't believe anything you're really hearing about the quarterbacks for a while. You're going to hear a lot of BS. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, especially when you have the number 2 pick. You try and play it up and then sucker somebody into taking it. And they need so much stuff. I wouldn't mind if they could move down to like 6 or 8 or something like that. Not too far down. Still get a good player, but get some extra picks. Joel heard there was a new documentary on Gibbs. I hadn't heard about that. Greg, how far is the team messed up from Snider from still getting the playoffs? I wrote about it today for 1067 The Fan, that I think with some luck, 2-3 years, you could be back in the playoffs and make a chance. There's teams that do this. You don't need 5-year plans because the problem is in roster building. 5 years from now, you keep changing your roster over. You really need 2-3 years. You got to get the quarterback right. If you get that wrong, screwed. If you gamble and take a guy at the top and he stinks, screwed. That's why I don't like to gamble there too much. And Steve, my old friend's on here, said the price is too high for one spot. I don't blame you there. How'd you do on work yesterday, Steve? Busy as all? Steve's busy on Super Bowl days. Tim, Wiley can compete to start at left guard. I wouldn't even worry about it, quite frankly. Abe, trade for Fields. If they can get Fields for a 2 or a 3, which is rumored, I would do it. I would. If they can't make anything happen to a degree, if you can still keep Jacoby Brissett as a backup, I'd do that. Todd, I like Jaden Daniels. I hope they draft him. I think Jaden Daniels, of the 3 guys out there, I would take Jaden Daniels if I have to take one. Brett, playoffs? Yeah. Draft Harrison Jr., Robert wants to know. I wouldn't be against that either. You need great players. I think he can be one. His dad was one. So if they get themselves a stud receiver, I'm not going to complain about that. But Gregory doesn't want Fields. Well, I think it could be a bridge guy for you. It could be a little better than that. I think he's getting better. Joel, Washington versus Kansas City Chiefs 3 now in the Super Bowl 3 years from now. Well, I don't know if the Chiefs will still be there, but maybe Washington is. Yeah. The amazing part, too, Kansas City, 4 years ago when he beat San Francisco in the Super Bowl, had only 4 players back from that team now, that yesterday's team. So they completely flipped their roster, 49 of 53 guys, while winning 3 Super Bowls in 4 years or whatever. That's crazy. And San Francisco only had 3 guys back from that past Super Bowl. So teams do, when you keep flipping guys like that, why can't you get better? It comes down to a lot of other things. Of course, they had Kelsey and Mahomes for 2 of the 4, but still, man, I was hoping Kelsey was going to propose. It all set up. You're on the field, the confetti's flying. You could have got down on one knee. Travis, what are you doing? We could have done this. I laugh. I have 2 grown daughters. I told them, and they both believe that Taylor will cut them loose before next season. I don't know about that, but I was like, oh, yeah, get married. You could probably fill Arrowhead Stadium for a wedding. Think of that. 80,000 people pay $50 each to come to the wedding. Swifties, I bet you would. That's a $4 million gate, right? And then, then Taylor will have a baby and all that kind of craziness. That's what happens when you're a girl dad. You hear about these things, but he didn't do it. So I don't blame him, but it would have been fun to see. Wow. Let's see. Yes, I fell asleep right after I fell asleep after the game ended. I managed to pull it off. All right, I'm glad to see you made some money. Hassan Riddick for a pick, asked Brent. I hadn't thought about that one so much yet. Steve, is there a legit concern that Kyle can't get out of his own head? Could be, or his dad's head. You never know. I laughed when they were saying that Kyle had cameras in all the rooms at San Francisco's training facility. He learned that from the old man who did it in Redskin Park. And, Big Brother. I think it's a bit overreach. I wasn't a big fan of Mike Shanahan personally. Certainly a great coach, great offensive mind on there. I mean, dude had a running game that beat everybody. But the old man got in his own way so much, fighting with things and over stupid stuff, and he wore himself out here. And that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame, quite frankly. John, what kind of draft capital could they get from dropping from 2 to 7, 8? I haven't looked at that exactly yet. The funny part, I saw if they were to swap picks with Chicago and get the first pick overall, what would it cost? Well, on that chart they all have now about points and how many things are worth what, all they would have had to give up is a second rounder to do that deal. But if I'm Chicago with the first pick, I'm not doing it for simply a second rounder, not unless I think I can flip that one too. And so I think Washington would have to give up 2 twos probably to make this happen. But I'm not sure on the 7-8. I'll have to look that up. I haven't looked at the chart lately. We just got done with the Super Bowl. The draft's 3 months away, so I'll catch up to it. Ty, can't stand Travis Kelce and Taylor. Come on, man, don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. Let the kids have fun. Whatever. What do we care? It's like Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe. That didn't end very well either. On there. Gregory, I think people have made much ado about nothing regarding Caleb Williams. I don't know, man. I just don't like I don't like a lot about his game on and off the field. I get a bad vibe on it. But I could be wrong. He might be great. He might be the next Johnny Unitas, and I'll be an idiot. Whatever. We'll see. I've been around 50 years now on football fields. This will be my 50th training camp coming up somewhere. That date back to my own as a kid. So I know a little something about football, but I'm not always right either, and I'm not a scout. Jason, when will we start figuring out what they're thinking about quarterbacks in the draft? Not for a while. I mean, first you go to the combine, and you hope you meet the guys. You got to talk to the guys. You get them in a room and just figure out. Because you can't trust college coaches to tell you the truth. They'll lie to you off right away. Heath Schuler's coaches lied like heck to the Redskins. So you got to do that. That's your first one. And if you figure out one of them's a rockhead or something, you eliminate him. But that's the first part. But I don't think they're going to make a real decision about this for a while. They don't have Dan Snider in the back trying to get in the way of all this. Let's see, Clayton. We gave him a Pro Bowl pass rusher for a second. True. In Chicago. So it's kind of like if you give that two back, that it's trade Montez for Fields. David, what do I think of the O-line coach? Don't really have an opinion on him. I'd like to meet him first before I can really tell. Steve, haven't seen any Do You Miss Football yet post. I've been kind of busy all day writing, but I'm okay to take a break. I don't watch much of the Spring Football League. It's not as good as the NFL, and I feel like I'm watching, a second-rate product, which we are. But, I mean, I wish them well. I've been to a Defenders game. It's fun. It's not the same thing as the NFL. Joel, thank you. Yeah, I gave a church service yesterday. Yes, I did wear my suit because I think you should wear a suit if you're a minister. I'm not a minister, but I was delivering the service at a friend's church who needed somebody to come in for him. And I help them with his sermons every week for years now. I do help ministers with their sermons because I'm telling them you're telling a story about God, but you're telling a story. So here's how a good way to tell a story and not bore people to death. So I have some experience with that, but it's sort of like Teddy Roosevelt's Man the Arena, where the praise goes not to the critic, which technically is me as a newspaper guy, Teddy, but to the man who's doing it. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. We'll see what happens. I thought it came out okay. It's a small church, so I wasn't like Joel Osteen talking to 15,000 and having to go over the top. It was more of an intimate talk about God. But I'm glad you watched it. Thank you for commenting. Steve, Caleb's worrying about his brand a lot. Yep, that bothers me too. If he starts throwing balls in a park, I'm not going to be happy about that either with a video. Slam and Jammin's here. All right. It looks like Tech's plan on moving teams to Potomac Yards is in deep trouble. Ted's plan, yep. And not too much. Today, I read about it. I got a video up on this now. So Leontis and them, to me, they jumped the gun with this big presser, but I guess they had to do it because everyone would have found out in speculation. But it's just like the Redskins presser 30 years ago, same site, everything. And the Redskins couldn't get State House to fund it. And already the woman, Luca is her name, Lucas, is the Senate Finance Committee chairman in Richmond for the State House. And she recently literally said about this deal, do I have dumb beep written on my forehead? And I thought, wow. And she said, no way, I'm approving this because she wants things for her district. Okay, this is how politics is made. You go in there, you say, okay, I'm not approving your deal unless I get this. She wants more funding for her school. She wants some toll relief in her area, or tolls down in Southeast Virginia. And this is how you make the magic, So just because it got knocked out today doesn't mean it can't come back. But there's a lot of negotiating to go. And the last 10 years or so, when teams have become billion-dollar products, a lot of politicians and fans and taxpayers don't want to pay for a billionaire's new stadium. They're like, you're rich, you do it. So I think Ded's going to have to throw more money in there. And then what's he going to do? He's going to pass it along to ticket prices. So you'll end up paying it. But at least you have a choice of whether or not you want to pay it versus your tax money on there. So, and you know what? Bowser's got a deal, $500 million on the table. And I know that yesterday that Josh Harris told Chick Hernandez, we got 3 spots that we're looking at. Well, we all know RFK's 1. Pretty much all know that Landover 2 is the FedEx Field spot. Could be a second one. The third one, I don't know for sure. I suspect it's in Loudoun County. If Virginia's trying to do a deal for this arena. There's no way you're going to get money out of the State House to do a football stadium too. There's no way. So it's really DC RFK site versus Landover. We've all known this for a while. But, she could always offer that spot to Leonsis too and try and play the two teams off each other. Brent, is the sermon still up? Yeah, but you can actually go to YouTube. It's called Kneeling Point Church, and you'll see it there. Or I have it on my Twitter feed and all. You can see the link. Jonathan, thanks for coming by. Young fan, 26. Man, I don't have many fans under 20, if you call you fans, under 25. Virtually none. Analytics say I have 2% on YouTube of women, so it's a 98% guy factor. I don't know. It might be true. I don't know. Coming up on 5,000 followers. So if you're not a follower for some reason, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit that thumbs up button for me because that makes the algorithm happy and they send me more people. Got to make algorithms happy or else you're doomed on the internet. And if you want to hit the thanks button, that $ sign on the bottom, I certainly do appreciate it because it helps me keep going doing this. Got to eat too, And I do this because people pretty much, we're almost at 8:30. Wow. Most people watch the show for about 15 minutes. More people watch it after the show's over. They watch it on replay. So if I say something once, I'll say it again and again. So if you want to get my commander's book, what is this here? There you go. $15 total. You can go. I have the message in my message at the very front. It says you can pay PayPal, Rick Snider 99 at AOL is an old address of mine. Please don't send football questions. But if you want to order the book, I personally will sign it for you. Can't get that anywhere else. And next week, I'll have the Presidential Pours, my brand new President's Drinking book. I'm waiting for it to be delivered. I don't want to sell any until I have them in hand, so you're not, waiting forever. All right. And Abe, thank you so much. Kick it in. Pizza fun. Yeah, I did go to, I went back to Rocco's Pizza the other day. And my cousin Mike and I were there, our wives. And this one is called the Pope's Blessing. And it's basically 10 different toppings or something on it. But it was pretty good. It's a deep dish. I like Rocco's. It's a good place. It's in McLean, Virginia. Does Peter sign off or know in advance who Quinn has in mind for his O-line and OC coaches? Says 7PRS. He probably is being informed, but it's still up to the coach to make his own decisions on assistants. Simply Wilt. You hear Washington isn't moving up to win the draft? I don't think they are. I mean, I know there's speculation. I heard it yesterday too. Nobody really knows. Nobody really knows this stuff until it comes, especially when it's almost 3 months away. Nothing's going to be decided for a while. And so Roosh 599, I don't think he's going to pull the trigger. You never know. Ramon, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Ordering the book. It's 100 short stories. I know I didn't talk about the book, but the book is 100 short stories about anything you can imagine in this team's history, including the 1937 trophy I posted last week. I saw it in a trophy case finally, and how it got lost after George Preston Marshall's death in '69 was gone for about 30 years. Todd, so you're going to be Snidies? Okay, whatever. Steve, thank you so much. My favorite snack yesterday. I am trying not to eat much lately because I had a diabetic problem, which I've been one for 30 years. Long story on that. So I basically have been eating really cleanly. So I did have a cupcake. We don't put tons of food out in the house. You'd be surprised. I'm trying to get my diabetes well in check. So otherwise I won't be here. So I didn't really, not a big foodie. We did have some wings. So that wasn't bad. I had a few wings grilled, not fried. Favorite Super Bowl commercial, Todd? I'd say the NFL International one. They talked about players coming from everywhere. That was really cool. I thought that was a really nice one. The Clydesdale one, I was always looking, where's my horses? But, yeah, Ramon, I got your order. Thank you so much. There you go. I love this real-time stuff. But the Clydesdale one wasn't like really one of their good ones, I think. There was a lot of food ones. The Wicked movie one, my daughter really was like, ooh, so we're probably going to see that. Scrubber, DC Defenders, yeah. I went to one game. Sat in the very top of the stadium. My young friend took me up there. Matt, we do the podcast together. I swear it must have been 50 rows up. And then he goes, hey, do you know they had an elevator up here? Son of a yeah, made me walk 50 flights, and now you tell me there's an elevator? But it was cool. Fans were really into it. It was a different experience. And, I enjoyed the event. I recommend you go see them. Pick 2 for Bears, number 9 and Fields. That's interesting, Will Ryan. 9 and Fields. Well, you get a quarterback. The 9's not that far down. I consider it, but I think they might get a better offer for it. But I don't know. Then starting quarterback, it's a big deal too. Todd liked the Beyonce commercial and the Messi commercial. Yeah, Messi wasn't a bad one on that. I didn't think the commercials were anything huge this year, really. Do you ever think we'll get the Olympics in D.C., Ramon? Ramon, I love this idea. I was arguing about the D.C. getting the Olympics years ago. I think for the one this summer, I think the 2024, they were bidding for it years ago, and people were all griping, oh, my God, traffic will be awful. Like it's not any other day. It's going to be awful anyway. And the Olympics in August, traffic's the least in August because people go to the beach on vacation. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing to get an Olympics in your own town, take the subway around or whatever. I mean, I thought it would be awesome. But we didn't really have the facilities then. But if this team builds a new indoor stadium too, that certainly goes a long ways. There's a lot of talk, has always been a lot of talk about Baltimore and D.C. combining a bid to help get all the things. That the World Cup final is not going to be in D.C., which it typically is in a nation's capital that's hosting. Is unusual, but we don't have that kind of facility here. Okay, James loves the Andy Reid bits. Where is Andy? Somewhere around here. Yeah, people think. Matter of fact, they put Andy Reid up on the screen yesterday. One of my grandsons is about 4 years old. He looks up and he goes, "Grandpa." It's like, stop it. I'm not. The other grandkids, I go, "Does that look like me?" Well, a mustache, thumb, and all. Yeah, I know. He's old, he's white, he's bald, he's fat. Yeah, I click a lot of the same boxes, though I'm sort of a mini-me compared to Andy now. But I think Andy's a great coach. I could be compared to other worse things. And Mike, well, security. Hey, listen, there's 86 different police agencies in D.C., mostly for each federal agency kind of thing. If we don't have the security to handle it, who would? You can't move anywhere in D.C. without a camera seeing you, yet they can't seem to stop the carjackings and everything going on. The kids in D.C., the teenagers are out of control. And to the point, I've stopped doing tours at night. I don't want to be on the street at night. Old guy walking down. I just had to cut that out. That's fine. I'm tired of working nights anyway. James, Redwood's son, Ken Norton Jr., that's right. So let me go over the coaches again since we've been halfway through the show. They signed Larry Izzo, going to be a special teamer, which he was great as a player. It's from Ashburn. O-line's Bobby Johnson, played coach for the Giants in Buffalo recently. The quarterback, they kept Tavita Pritchard, who joined the team last year as a quarterback coach after 13 years at Stanford. Ryan Kerrigan is staying. Love to hear that. As a special team. As a defensive pass specialist. They got so many stupid names anymore. A defensive passing game coordinator. That's another crazy name they come up with. Jason Simmons, who spent the last 2 years in Las Vegas. John Pagano, who was the brother or whatever, the other Pagano, has been in the league 34 years, but not the last couple of years. He was a defensive coordinator with the Chargers and Raiders. And then Ken Norton Jr., son of the heavyweight champ, was in UCLA last couple of years as linebacker coach. So I don't think I'll smart mouth him if nothing else. Hey, you got to leave already? All right, well, okay. I'll see you next week when we're doing the book. Let's see. Kelsey to the lockdown. Let's see. Let's see. Would I have sent Kelsey to the locker room after yelling at me like that? Nah, you got so much to worry about. He probably just blew off him and he probably thought, I'll deal with that later. But then they won the game, so there's nothing to deal with. So, no. Bobby Johnson, I don't know. Everybody's already hating on him. I'm going to wait and see him before I do it. Is Kyle Shanahan overrated? Sean asked. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, he was one play away from winning a Super Bowl. Can't say I don't think that. I mean, I knew Kyle when he was, I guess, 20s, early 30s here in Washington. I mean, very obviously, born to the business. Very smart guy. Does he get in his own head a little bit too much? Probably. Steve, how much bribery for the Olympics? A lot. A lot. Those guys get rich off this. Guillermo, okay. I hope you're doing well too. Thank you. James, I want the new book. I have your other two. You talking about the President's Drinking book? Hopefully. I mean, I've written 10 books. This is my 10th book. But if you want this one, you can get it now. Just go to PayPal. RickSnider99 at AOL is the PayPal address. Please don't send football questions. And next week is Presidential Pours. Where are you at? Here it is. Sorry. And Presidential Pours is not the actual size of the book. But it's about every president and their drinking, what they like to drink. And there's a few of them that didn't drink on there. And I talk about places they drank in D.C., a few recipes that are historic stuff. George Washington threw some ragers, man. That guy threw some rager parties. But then again, you win the Revolutionary War. You can. Jefferson averaged 400 bottles of wine a year for 3 years, went broke paying for it. That kind of thing. There's a lot of fun stories in the book. So you'll enjoy it. It's only going to be $15, shipping included. I'll cut the price for you guys, and I'll sign it. You can get it on Amazon now if you want it, but I won't sign it because I never see it. But it is up on Amazon already. I'm just waiting for the books to hit my doorstep any day now. Then I'll make a push because I don't want you to order it and then have me going, I'm sorry, it's still a week away. I don't want to do that to you. So I'll just wait till I have it in hand so I can throw it in an envelope. Just like Steve ordered my book, and there it is. It's in an envelope, and will be in the mailbox tomorrow. I usually ship them within a day of an order, unless it's Saturday and I have to wait till Monday. So I try to do customer service how I would want to be treated. So order the book when it comes. But next Monday, I'll hopefully have the books next Monday. It's supposed to come tomorrow, and we'll try and see if everybody likes it or not. Try and make a living. I like to write books, but there's nobody you can write about on commander's duty for a while. So, that's why I'm not writing another commander's books. Nobody's going to read it for a while. Let them win a couple games, then maybe. Steve, what about San Francisco players not knowing the new OT rules? Yeah, I saw that. How is this possible? We all know the rules. They should know the rules. They should go over that. Man, what did you think about Trent Williams getting called for consecutive penalties? I was like, whoa. Chase actually made a nice sack, made a couple other plays. Overall, I saw him standing there watching some, but at least he did make some plays. I would bet San Francisco does not re-sign him. And I don't think he's going to get anything of a great deal because he just hasn't played that well or with the passion needed. I don't know. Spoiled, maybe. I don't know what his problem is. PG Cubano Abel, if I got that right. Is Daniels the favorite over May? I think that's going to be up and down for a while. Let them get to the combine. Let them do some camps. Let them, and it depends on each team. What are you looking for? Which one of these fits you best? And we do have a new OC coming in, so we got to figure that out too. Like I said, you guys want to know all about the draft. We're not even 24 hours from the last game. We're 3 months away from the draft almost. So it'll be a little while before we really get into that. Did they retain the running back's assistant coach? Oh, I don't know about that. I hadn't heard anything about that. Which of my books am I most proud of, Sean? Probably the Commander's Hunter Things book. It was probably my best book of them all. I did one though, Secrets of Caveman Cooking. I'll tell you a quick story on this. John Cobb and I and another guy, David Elfin, my old partner at the Washington Times. We combined to write Hail to RFK, wrote it in like 2 months or something when the team was leaving. Sold a ton of books. It was a great success. And then we did another one about the America's rivalry, the Cowboys and Redskins games. It sold okay. And so I figured I knew what I was doing, and I was joking around one night with some other authors, and I go, what is it with cookbooks? Anybody can write a cookbook. And so on a dare, I wrote a proposal for a cookbook, and damn, some publisher didn't buy it from me. And now I had to write the cookbook. Now, I did cook in a restaurant for a few years when I was younger. I do have a chef certificate. So I knew something about it, but I wasn't making fancy food. I was making like grilling and all that. So I did this book called Secrets of Caveman Cooking. And hold on, I'll get it for you. I got it right here. I don't know if this is even on Amazon anymore, but Secrets of Caveman Cooking. See, there's my name, and it's all recipes. And the funny part about these kind of books is, each one's a recipe, like one page, but it's like hamburger, cheeseburger, bacon cheeseburger. I mean, not exactly, Faulkner or something. So that's how I did that. It was a fun book to write. I took the money and we went on vacation to Miami. So that's there. Gregory, any ideas of training camp is staying in Ashburn? Yes. From what I understand, we'll be at Ashburn until either a new facility, which I think they're looking around Ashburn, and I think it'll be, 2-3 years from now, they'll be in a new facility. Redskin, I understand there's already like a big interest in buying the land at Commanders Park, Redskin Park, because they have all these internet servers. Like the majority of the internet traffic in the world goes through Ashburn. And I can tell you, the park is surrounded by these monoliths. They're like the ancient pyramids are so big. It's all the internet traffic going around. So I hear they got to offer on their land, but then you got to buy land somewhere else. So I think they're going to stay there, and I think they're going to stay there even with the new stadium. So I expect the park in its new glory to also host training camp probably from now on. Okay, Sean, so let me get this straight. You're a chef, journalist, minister. Well, not really a minister. Historian, teacher, and tour guide. What can't you do? I can't testify under oath now. I do teach online. You got that too? Yeah, I teach kids online. I like to stay busy, and I don't make a lot of money doing anything, so I do all these kind of things. So, Sean, thank you so much for that. Writers don't make the money people, even what we used to. Our jobs are fading out of the history. I always said I look like a stagecoach driver who saw a car go by. So I do a little bit of everything. Some of it well, some of it not. I used to sell real estate for 10 years too. But that job's nuts. You do all this work and the deal falls through and you don't get paid. I have a long story about a $10 million deal that fell through. That I don't want to get into that tonight. King Scourge, where are the Bears asking for Fields? Well, technically we hear they're asking for 2-2s. If it was Washington. Now, if somebody else, they're asking for more. Moving down. Because you're only flipping one, and if you think Washington's taking a guy you don't want, you can flip the picks and get 2-2s. That's a nice deal. But I think they might be looking for something bigger. If it's Caleb Williams nonsense gets out of hand and somebody overpays, God bless them. Good luck with you. Steve, thinking Saints for some reason. How about that? King, I don't know. I know what you're talking about. Oh, okay. With the assistant coach. I had not heard anything about the assistant coach for running backs. More permanent cover on a field or two, Steve says. I don't know. The fields aren't in bad shape at the park. I don't see anybody getting hurt because of them, in practice. And they had the bubble too. And teams don't practice like they used to. They lighter practices, partly for the rules. They used to bang each other every day. They don't do that anymore. You're only allowed like 15 contact practices once the season starts, which is like once a week. And most teams stop doing that by mid-season because their guys are too banged up. Ramon, what do I think the Commanders do in their office in College Park versus Ashburn? So I was over at College Park and they were telling me about it. I mean, it's a sales office more than anything. And it's in a a district area of the campus where they're trying to, what would you call it, entrepreneurship and percolating business and stuff like that. I think they got a good deal for it. Why they couldn't stay at the stadium, I don't know. I don't think, it's not like they don't have the room for them at the stadium. I guess they just wanted to be near the action over in College Park, which, maybe a line, meeting people, negotiating with people all the time. Maybe it's a better place for them. It's not that far from the stadium, like 15 minutes. Alex, how do you think Washington's offense will do this season? Alex, you better hold on to your hat because they're going to score 1,000,000 points. I don't know. Tell me who the quarterback is. Tell me who the line is. I mean, this is all way, way too early to even give an answer. Sorry, but just being honest. Tigers boy, what's up with Maryland basketball? Men and women. Yeah, the women are barely above 500 after being great for like 20 years. It's all this chaos in the NCAAs now with the NIL and all that. I don't know what to think of it anymore. But Maryland, I mean, I've seen them play some good games. I've seen them stink. And I'm not sure this is the right coach for him, to be honest. I'm starting to lose a little faith in him. Didn't like the last guy either. I haven't had a good coach since Gary Williams. Greg, and I'm a Maryland alum, and I've been watching Maryland basketball since 1973. So I love Maryland basketball, and it pains me to watch this. It's like I can't watch the Wizards anymore. My God, talk about pains me. I gave up on that years ago. I watch a few minutes now and then, but the Wiz suck, and I can't take it anymore. Greg, you would give the Bears whatever they wanted. Well, Greg, you won't win many games giving people everything they want. James, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Need some Len Bias stories. All right, so I covered Len Bias's death. I actually covered Len Bias when he played in high school his senior year. That was, I think, my first year as a reporter. He was so much better than everybody else. But then he got to Maryland, and his first year he was terrible because he had no off-ball skills. He had always just been so much better than everybody, just take the ball and score in high school. He had to learn, but he did. The summer after his first year, he stayed in that gym and a radically different player. I hear stories every year from people since I covered it, and I'm one of the last guys around. I am the longest running sports writer in D.C. There are a few other guys I think around. I got my butt kicked on that story every day because I wasn't covering Maryland then. But anyway, Lenice Bias, who is Len's mother, I heard her speak a few years ago at an event, and God bless her, man. She's held on to having her son die of an overdose, and the second one was killed in the parking lot over a girl. But she told us, she said, Len Bias would listen to Whitney Houston's music and said, one day I'm going to marry her. Oh, wow. Think of that. I mean, Whitney Houston's like Taylor now. And I wish he had, because they'd both be here today. I think, such a terrible thing to happen to Whitney too. But I think he, being an NBA player, I bet he would have had a shot at dating her and all. And he wanted to marry Whitney Houston. It's just like, wow, talk about dreaming big, but he was going to be a big deal too. So there's a Len Bias story you don't hear much. They create more room for suites at FedEx. Yeah, I think, Tim, that is why they did this, but I don't know. They got a lot of empty space, but that's what they felt. Yeah, that they couldn't afford it. But then again, you have to rent space somewhere else. So is it worth it? Guess they figured it was. Or maybe they just figured they're getting out of that old stadium. King, I can't imagine our youth around the DMV painting their nails. I try not to be an old man here. Me and Caleb, we're a couple generations apart now. I would be his grandfather. So not for me, but I try not to judge younger people and what they're doing. Everybody's got to be young once and they have their own ideas. I don't like people yelling, okay, boomer. Hate that. I hate young people holding doors for me. Stop it. I know you're being respectful. It makes me feel old. So where I live in Southern Maryland, everybody holds a door for you. Everybody. Very much more polite down here in Southern Maryland. Deep Southern Maryland. Quite refreshing when I moved down here last year. I lived in Waldorf for many years, which is only like 20 miles from the DC line. It's more city oriented. Now I live on an old farm that was cut up, big lots. I was trimming trees yesterday. Love being outside. And I just love being in the country again. That's my family's history. Come from a long line of farmers. I'm back to the land in my later years. So I work as much as I want to work, but I do have some time now free to do it. Wife just retired. We got electric bikes. Those are sweet. If you can get an electric bike, people say that's cheating. I'm over 60. It's not cheating. Be glad I ride a bike. But man, electric bikes, it's like you get a little tired, hit that button. It's like somebody just gave you a push. It's a sweet deal. Okay. King Scorch. Giving our draft picks away for a guy who paints his nails. See, I don't want to get into painting nails. Hey, if he starts throwing touchdown passes every game, a lot of people are going to paint their nails. So that's, I'm not a tattoo guy either. I know that's very mainstream now. My daughters, who are now in their 30s, would say, I want to get a tattoo. I said, you can get a tattoo. Well, as soon as the funeral's over, stop by. But not while I'm alive. My dad had one, got in the Army when he fought in Korea. Said it was the dumbest thing he ever did. I'm too big a sissy for somebody to punch me with that needle a million times. James, would I know what happened to Lenny's nephew, his sister's son? I'm not sure who that is offhand. I'd have to think about that. I mean, his younger brother was killed. So both the Bias boys were killed within a few years. Really sad. How Lenny's, if I had to lose two children to this kind of thing, I don't know how I wouldn't jump off a bridge, So I give her a lot of credit for holding strong. Lewis, all right, Lewis is out in California. What are the top three things you look in a QB prospect? Well, we obviously look for the mental game. He's got to be a smart guy on that because he's got a lot. You always look for the arm. Can he make all the throws? Now, can he do it? Can he do it under pressure? I don't know. Is he a leader? You got to lead this team. You got to be what Mahomes just did. Yeah, we're down, but we're coming back, and he did. So I guess those are three right off. Joe, I remember reading Tony K and Michael. Any good stories? I knew Michael better than Tony. Tony, I thought, was a brilliant writer. Very funny. I mean, I've been a columnist for many years now. I can snap off a line, maybe you laugh at something here and there, but Tony could do it every column. He was awesome like that. And Michael understands sports as well as anybody, and he's a great guy. Michael, all right, I'll tell a story. We're in Nashville for the NCAA tournament, early round. This would have been maybe 05. And we get done, and sometimes you go out on the road with guys, you go out to dinner together. So Michael and I go out to dinner. We're walking down the main street there in Nashville. Michael's show was pretty new, so everybody would stop and go, pardon the interruption. Yeah, I heard it. And Michael would always laugh, would always treat people with respect. It's like an hour, and we've moved 2 blocks. I'm like, Michael, I'm starving. We got to go eat. We go past this place that looks like it's closed. And Michael says, I know this place. We go inside. It's a rave. It is. I mean, I'm in my 40s at this point. It's a rave. It's a nightclub going wild. Michael spotted us out of nowhere. I guess he knew. And Michael's buying drinks, and the girls are coming by with these test tubes with different colors. And they're like, which one do you want? I'm like, I have no idea what any of them are. So just give me, we just drank the colors. Well, things got a little tipsy, and Michael and another guy with us supposedly telling me that I almost stepped into traffic at a light, and they saved my life. So I believe them. I wasn't exactly coherent. I wasn't always an old man. But Michael's a great guy. And I guess Tony is. I don't know Tony as well. Gregor, do you think Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat? Nah. Mike, when's it possible for Washington to change the name again? I think when they go to the new stadium, if they're ever going to do it, it'll be when they go to a new stadium, but that's probably 5 years away. And if they win a Super Bowl before then never. Justin, I need you to keep grinding. Well, okay, thanks. Yeah, I hate to walk away and then watch them be good about this. Worst moment covering the team? Boy, that's hard to believe. There's the day I was at Redskin Park having a heart attack. That was certainly one. The best moment, probably covering their 3rd Super Bowl. That was my first one live. I did the 87 one, but I was a young guy back in D.C. handling stories. But probably covering the Super Bowl win in Minnesota was the best time. And I like Joe Gibbs is great. I have nothing bad to say about Joe Gibbs. I have more bad to say about me than I do about Joe Gibbs. All right, we're getting close to the end. If you want to hit that thanks button, hit it. And I do appreciate it all. Like I said, if you want to order the book, it's up there on the very beginning. If you're watching on replay, just look where I have the description of tonight, and you can see the address, Rick Snider 99 at AOL is for my PayPal people. $15, get it all, I'll sign it to you. Can't beat that deal. And next week I'll have the Presidential Poor's book. All right, we'll do a few more. Two-hit wonder with obstacles in Virginia and RFK, do they wind up building in Maryland? I think Maryland's definitely the second choice to the RFK site. There's a bill that just got out of committee on the Hill to go up to the House of Rep for a main vote. I think it will pass and give a 99-year lease to the RFK site to D.C. And that kind of clears a lot of things. But then you got to fight about money. So it's not over until it's over, and I don't think there'll be a lease signed until at least the end of the year, at best, maybe early next year. What I've been hearing. Do we get an entire year to evaluate Cliff Kingsbury's offense, King? No. When they lose the preseason opener, then we're going to just tar and feather them and run them out of town. That's what we do here. Eric, thanks for the compliment. And can they be next year's Texans? I don't know if it's next year, but maybe 2 years from now. Hotbox Gang, they're a new guy. Do I think they keep going with Benjamin St. Juste? Maybe a backup. I don't think he didn't have a good year last year, and he does get hurt. But they got a lot of needs, so maybe he sticks around another year. Will, why do you keep hiring coaches from bad teams? Well, bad teams fire their staff, so that's who's available. You don't really get positional coaches out of Super Bowl champs because they're not leaving there. That's why. It's who's available. Joe, Tony wrote articles in Sunday's Post that always had him laughing. Yeah, I mean, Tony's a great writer. There's no doubt of that. Will, National Harbor for the new stadium? I wrote this years ago that I thought they might go across the highway on the Beltway from National Harbor. And I know it's been considered. It's called Oxen Cove. It's just on the other side of the highway when you're near the Wilson Bridge. And they wanted it. They actually had a deal for Oxen Cove done with the governor of Maryland, who had to work with the federal government to get this deal done. And from what I've been told by somebody in the room, Dan Snyder, once the deal was done, but not signed, was taunting Hogan about how Governor Hogan, then, who's now running for senator, he taunted Governor Hogan about he got the better of him, to the point that Hogan pulled the deal. All right, and I've had people in the room tell me this story. So that stadium deal could have been done down near the Wilson Bridge. I think it was a good location. And actually, the first version of this book came out 10 years ago, 100 Things Redskins fans. I wrote Oxen Cove was the spot to go to. Didn't get me anything, but I wrote it back then. So, yeah, I was at National Harbor the other day. I took my grandson to see the Titanic exhibit, which was okay. I've seen it before. But it's there for like another month if you want something to do. They did a lot of good stories. But I hear there's a museum that's much better of it. And I've been around the Titanic stuff before, too. We're at 9 o'clock. All right, I'll take any last questions. What the heck? I'm going to go watch Bob Loves Abishola when I'm done here. New network TV is out this week. There's something new on TV to watch. Thank God. I've been watching stuff forever. Let's see, King. You'll feel nothing has changed except the color of lipstick on a pig. Well, you got to have some optimism. If you just hate what's going on, it's kind of a bore to watch it. David, thank you for coming. Do appreciate it. If you're watching if you missed the earlier part of the show, you can see replay. YouTube runs us on replay like almost instantly after we're done. So you can watch it anytime. More people watch on replay and watch live. We had a pretty good crowd tonight. We're at 73 right now alone. Hit the thumbs up button for me. If nothing else, that does help the algorithm send more people to me. So if you don't want to dig in your pocket for money, or you don't want to buy a book, or whatever, if you don't want to meet me on the street and buy pizza, I might do a pizza meetup later in the spring. on a Saturday afternoon, maybe in DuPont Circle or Georgetown. Just got to get around to thinking about it again, but I probably will. And if you sit next to me, you can buy pizza. You know, it'll be a free thing. You can just stop by, say hi, buy your own pizza. But I might do it because this show has been amazing how many people watch. The 2-minute videos are out every morning at 6 a.m. If you're not regularly watching, I time them. I'm not doing them at 6 a.m. They're auto time. And of course, Rick Snider's Washington on Twitter. You can also see the stuff there. I'm on Threads too, same name. Just nobody reads Threads. I think I just put it there anyway on there. So, there's different ways to do it. And I have videos usually come out around dinner time, whenever, be a little less Commanders, a little more food and tourism in the next few months because there's not a game every week. So I got to do something. But usually there's one every morning and evening. Sometimes if something happens, I do more. Occasionally I'll do a live. We'll do live next Monday. After that, I might take a break for a couple weeks. We'll see. What would I do Mondays without you guys, Steve? And the other Steve. I had 2 Steves here. And Steve knows Oxen Cove very well. So, they actually have a cemetery there. Steve, have you ever been to the cemetery where the Nazi saboteurs are buried? Quick story. World War II. Hitler gets upset because, America's sending saboteurs into Germany. So Hitler recruits 7 Americans who went back to Germany to fight for the fatherland. They spoke perfect English. He sent 3 of them to Long Island, 4 of them to Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, weighted down with explosives, money, all that jazz, and said, just go cause some hell over in America. But one of the guys decided he couldn't go through with it, came to D.C., met J. Edgar Hoover after his assistants thought he was nuts, but Hoover met him, and he told the whole thing. They arrested all the guys. They brought them all to D.C. They had them, and now they're spies because they're not uniformed. And 5 of them were given death sentences. They were hanged here in D.C., and they were buried over by Oxen Cove at the cemetery. 2 of them were given life. One of them, after the war, the guy who turned code ratted him out, whoever's traitor he is, ours or theirs or both. Anyway, they were going to give him back to Germany, and Germany said, we don't take traitors back. And we're like, we don't keep them either, but I don't know whatever happened to him on there. So, all right, Flying Turtle. Question for me. In the command post, you said Beathard used the Peters seems numbers. Oh, okay. So I said Beathard was more of an eye test, where Adam Peters, the new GM, is an analytics guy and a numbers guy. I listened to Andy Reid talk yesterday about how he used analytics to decide. Well, he didn't get to decide the coin toss in the overtime, but he was glad that they got it second because you got an extra down in some respects to work with. I'm not saying analytics has no place in football. I look at what I see. I see ballers. I don't see numbers. I know who's a baller. That's what you want. But there's probably a place for both, I'm sure. Just like AI scares me. I had a company offer me a job to teach AI some things, and I thought, no, I'm not going to tell the machines how to do things. Screw them. Let the machines figure it out. So anyway, I tell stories like that all the time on tours about the Germans in that cemetery, those 5 guys are scattered throughout the cemetery and no markers because they didn't want it to become some kind of holy grail for Nazi sympathizers. But they're right there, wouldn't be far from where the stadium would be built. Weird as that is. So, all right, 9:05. Any last questions before we go? There's plenty of you here. If you want to hit the thanks button, that's great. If you want to buy a book after the show, great. Just hit PayPal, RickSnider99 at AOL. Don't send bad football questions there. And I'll sign it for you and put it in the mail the next day. I only have about 20 some left. So if you want one, you can get it on Amazon too if you like. And otherwise, I guess we're about done. Found my bell. My grandson was here yesterday and took off with it. So I was doing videos earlier like, oh, it's not here. Oh, rascal. So anyway, there you go. So if you're watching on replay, or if you missed any, you can watch on replay videos, 6 a.m., 6 p.m.-ish. Podcast's on a break for a little while too. Seasons of Discontent decided to take a break. Can't do this 52 weeks a year. Thank you, Steve, for coming on everything on there. And I guess we're done. I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you next Monday on the live show and on daily shows every day. And thanks again for coming.